Words and grammar. Let's see that's how words tell their grammar. Some complex words have meanings that are also predictable, that they do not have to be listed in a dictionaries. You know that we do not list every word that we come across in the dictionary. We know in many cases that this is the form of another word. So that word is a citation form. So we do not need other words. Such words illustrate the fact that a word need not be a lexical item. There are merely grammatically conditioned variant of a word that is more basic in some sense and which itself may be or may not be listed depending on whether its meaning is predictable or not. For example, if we have word cat and we have a word cats, we know that the meaning of cat is predictable from cat because we know that the s added in cats is a plural s and this is a plural s, and whenever it is attached to any singular noun, its meaning is predictable. So in that case, we do not mention cats in the dictionary. The notion more basic and grammatically conditioned varied. So here we have a notion that there are certain words which are grammatically conditioned and they do not need to be cited in the dictionary. For example, if you look at this, the pianist performs in the local hall every week. We know that the verb perform has s. This is the s because the subject, the pianist, is this third person singular noun. And we know that when we have the subject third person singular, we add s with the verb. Mary told us that this pianist performed in the local hall. So we know that here performed is in past tense. The ed attached to the verb perform tells us now this verb is in the past tense and it is grammatically conditioned word. Because of told, it is used in the past form. The performance last week was particularly impressive. However, performance has no grammatically conditioned variant like performs or performed, right? If we take this pianist perform in the local hall every week, you can see that it has asterisk. It means that this is not possible. This is not a well-formed English sentence, despite the fact that its semantics is clear. But an English sentence needs an S in case of a third person singular subject. Similarly, these pianist performs. Again, this is not possible because we have the plural subject. So plural subject needs a plural verb without S. So these are some examples of grammatically conditioned variants. So they adopt a different form under the condition, under certain grammatical condition. They require an S or do not require an S. They require an ed or do not require an ed. Whereas we, in case of performance, we do not find that it requires an S. It's an act of performing something and generally is not a countable noun. The performer last week was particularly impressive. So we can change it. The concert last week was particularly impressive. These pianists perform in the local hall every week. If you look at this, in case of pianist, we need a plural verb. We need a new term for the more abstract kind of word of which the word forms perform, performed, and perform are all inflectional variants. So perform, performs, performs are in fact inflectional variants of that word. And what is that word? Let us call this abstract kind of word a lexeme. So actually perform, performs, or performed are the are forms of the or kind of the word that is known as lexeme. We can now say that performs, performed, and perform are all the inflected forms of the lexeme perform, and we can describe the grammatical function of performed by calling it past tense, form of the verb performs by calling it present tense in the presence of a third person singular subject, etc. Being abstract in this sense, a lexeme is not strictly speaking something that we pronounce, that can be uttered or pronounced. We can pronounce a word but not a lexeme, because a lexeme is an abstract entity. Only the word forms that belong to it can be pronounced but not lexeme. We refer to lexeme in English by means of their bare unaffixed form. They are bare unaffixed form. They do not have any affixed. Two words can be pronounced the same way but spelled differently in English and vice versa. So we have seen many homophones. They are pronounced similarly, right? So there are many examples that they can be pronounced two words having different meaning, or they are two different lexeme because they have two different meanings. It follows that the same word form can belong to two quite different lexeme, as does row in the following two sentences. There were 4 rows of seats. One person rows the boat. So if you look at this, the word row in the first and the word rows in the second are two different lexeme because they are semantically different. One lexeme may be represented by more than one word form, and one word form may be represented by more than one lexeme. In case of row, you have seen that they are two different. The word is the same, but they are two different lexeme. And we have seen that perform is the lexeme and perform, performs, performed are its word forms. So this is something about the grammar of the words. How do we know that a certain word is a lexeme and certain words are forms of a lexeme?